This is a very strange image. You've got these circles of something colored lightly blue, and then you've got these bright red streaks.
This looks like the surface of Mars. Who made this? Why did they make it? And what possible function could these structures be serving?
Historical images reveal the mystery structures have been here for decades. This provides military historians with a clue.
These structures look old. There's always the possibility that these might somehow be associated with the Italian colonial era.
Italian dictator Benito Mussolini attempted to build an empire here.
Mussolini has a vision of establishing and maintaining an Italian mega-colony in Africa.
Analysts discovered that this region contains similar circular structures that date from this period. In 1930, Mussolini ordered the construction of this fort at the Ethiopian desert town of Welwel, near the site in the image.
It's entirely reasonable to assume that there might be a connection.
This is considered a very aggressive act of war, effectively, and it drives the Ethiopians absolutely crazy.
Following its construction, Ethiopia's Emperor Haile Selassie sent a militia to capture Mussolini's fort.
Mussolini, in return, doubles down. He uses this as a pretext to try to take over the entire country. This is classic dictator behavior.
In 1935, 100,000 additional Italian troops marched into Ethiopia. To reach the country's interior, they had to cross 120 miles of scorching desert sands.
One of the most difficult things you can expect a human being to do is to move on foot, carrying a heavy load across vast distances in godforsaken, waterless terrain.
Faced with this death march, records reveal the Italians came up with a plan that could explain the mystery patterns.
The Italians had this idea that the fighting forces would be resupplied from the air so that their troops weren't burdened down by carrying hundreds of pounds of individual loadout.
The first and possibly weirdest air-supplied mission in history began.
These aren't your typical meal kits. They drop everything you would need to survive out in the desert. Water, vegetables, utensils, oh, and live sheep.
To make fresh lamb and beef dishes, Mussolini's air crews attached parachutes to live sheep and bulls and pushed them out of the back of planes.
We all know the Italians love fresh food, but this is taking it to an extreme.
It seems utterly nuts, taking a sheep, putting a parachute on it and then throwing it out of a plane. But what you've got is a plentiful living supply of food that doesn't need to be salted or refrigerated.
It would make perfect sense that these were pens that were hastily built by the Italians to hold the livestock.
Closer image analysis appears to confirm the theory.
If you zoom in a little closer, it's apparent it's a fence. These edges are thorny acacias.
The 10th of November, 2016. A satellite flying above Maryland spotted something strange.
First thing that pops out is this giant white bubble here in the middle of the landscape.
It looked like a radome, a golf ball type structure that protects super powerful radar systems. But at 200 feet across, it was far too big and the wrong shape.
It literally looks like a giant egg.
It almost looks like a spaceship has landed. It even looks like there's a stairway leading up into it.
What made the dome especially intriguing was its location. Aberdeen Proving Ground, part of Edgewood Arsenal, the scene of secret experiments carried out on humans, living and dead.
You really have to wonder what kind of tests would require a facility like we see in the image.
Possible evidence came from an FBI raid on an Arizona warehouse in January 2014. Inside, agents discovered buckets of limbs and a female head sewn onto another body, destined for sale to the US military.
The FBI files on this investigation have been sealed, so there's no real way to know which bodies ended up at which military bases and what kind of tests they were subjected to.
Human experimentation at the base in the image began decades ago.
A lot of work is classified, but some programs like Operation Delirium, where US soldiers were dosed with PCP, sarin gas, just to test the effects, those types of drills were conducted at this location.
The authorities claim that experiments on humans have now ceased.
Those sorts of programs are shrouded in secrecy. So if there are tests that are being conducted, it could be hidden under a dome like this.
It's said that research here has even involved blowing up corpses.
The goal of this is to research the effects of IEDs and include how the body reacts to these types of explosions.
This research, according to the military, was aimed at saving lives.
During the height of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the US military really struggled in how to fortify their vehicles against roadside bombs or improvised explosive devices. By using cadavers, the US Army is able to actually see the effects of an IED on human tissue, human bones, and funnel them into training simulations that could further prevent injury to US soldiers.
According to US military authorities, the dome is indeed used for weapons testing.
Things that can be tested in this facility range from handheld weapons all the way up to tanks and helicopters.
It's said the dome can simulate conditions in potential battle zones anywhere in the world. That, at least, is the official purpose of the dome. But this is a secret base, and the precise nature of the experimental work here remains classified.
This is one of those situations where, looking at the image, you know there's something shrouded in secrecy going on beneath that dome.